shluchim over the world is indescribable. But anyway, I want to tell you a personal story of Raya Naaman, because the Medrash speaks about the faithful shepherd of Moshe Rabbeinu going and chasing the sheep that runs away. Where do you test? Where do you see? Where is expressed the faithfulness of Raya? It's not by the herds. Those that follow in the regular herds, it's not a big deal. You don't see the specialty of the shepherd. You see the miyumanus, the expertise of the shepherd when you have a sheep that's run away from the herd. I'll tell you two stories, one from Tafshin Memches and one from Tafshin Pei Beis. I think, from my perspective, you want to choose the highest moment of joy, of ecstasy, of specialty in Lubavitch, Deir Ashvi, not the Dan Notzach. There was an appeal after the Dan Notzach.
Yes.
Rosh Chodesh Kislev Tafshin Memches. Tell you why I say so. The appeal was done, and Beis Kislev, the Sfarim came back. We knew the Sfarim were coming back. The Rebbe given gesund for 10 years from Tafshin Memches. If you remember the Fabrengenischen of Reb Geshem Mendel Garelik, he counted 10 years in every way you could count 10 years. The feet, the toes. Hirschel, yeah, it was command. Anyway, I remember there was some Yidden from Williamsburg. They were coming to observe Geshem Mendel's Fabrengen, and they asked me, "Zug mir, du sie der Geshem Mendel was mir auf einmal solche große Sachen?" Because he was Geshem Mendel took mashke. What expressed himself just was love of the Rebbe and behemoth sayisi imach. He was like a sheep. He acted like a sheep. He could talk. It didn't matter. He didn't want to be present. He didn't have anyone to see. So he counted 10 years in his toes. And he took off his shoes and his socks. He counted Tafshin Lamed Ches and Tafshin Lamed Tes and Tafshin. Then he got Tafshin Mem Ches. It wasn't enough to count it on his things. He took off his shoes and his socks and he put them on the table. He counted Tafshin Lamed Tes, Tafshin Lamed Tes, Tafshin. But it made sense. Everybody was part of that joy. It was 10 years. The Rebbe was Melech B'Yofya Techzanei Necha. The Gzeira of the Din HaNotzach was done. The Rebbetzin really, for those of us that had really no angle into the Heicha fence, everything we didn't even. In other words, sometimes when nothing hurts, it's because everything's great. When you hear about something, it's an issue. For most of us, not hearing anything about the Rebbetzin was because everything was fine. There was nobody had a dream. I'm saying a nightmare, chas v'shalom, that there could be something like Chav B'Shvat. Like Beis Harav was untouchable. We're going straight to Mashiach. The whole scenario of Chav B'Shvat wasn't in anybody's. Kinus HaShluchim turned from Kinus HaShluchim of America to Kinus HaShluchim HaIloni. This was a moment of history where everything was good. And you can see it in the WLCC video of Rosh Chodesh Kislev, Motzei Shabbos, where the Rebbe went out for the Fabrengen. The Rebbe goes out and everybody's auf Tisch und auf Bank. Literally, they're dancing on the tables and dancing on the chairs. Nobody wanted to go away. You see this, it's incredible dancing. I was able to be there. I didn't understand the enormity of it then. But I was in Morristown. Morristown was going through a Cheshbon HaNefesh. You see, it's interesting. Now there's a zettel that came out. Did you see that zettel? That said that the Rebbe expects from the Koilel that they should be able to learn as good as Morristown, or at least as well as Olei Torah. In other words, there's a zettel. Huh? In other words, Morristown was the original yeshiva. Huh? You know what I'm talking about? There's a zettel like that. It came out recently. I think I saw it recently. It was publicized. Akopani, but Morristown had a big downfall. Not downfall, big chisaron. What was the chisaron? Olei Torah, they were by the Rebbe, quite in proximity. Also, they had a place to Fabrengen. If you wanted to have a Fabrengen in Crown Heights, you needed a place. It wasn't where are you going to Fabrengen? Olei Torah had. So Morristown was a disadvantage. So that whole Morristown said, let's. They figured that Fabrengen is one of the ways you get the Bachim together. One of the big major Fabrengens every yeshiva had, Stam every yeshiva still has, is Fabrengen Rosh Chodesh Kislev. The tradition was. And now it's in his shiva, Meir Harlig Alav Shalom. The Meir Harlig Alav Shalom was achroi on the main Fabrengen first night of the Chodesh, But then every yeshiva had the second Irish Chiddush, or Matzah Chiddush, or second Irish Chiddush, that Zaydah. And so Morristown decided that they want this year, where Chiddush was Memches, where Chiddush was Sunday night, Matzah Shabbos being Fabrengen. Matzah Shabbos, a bit Meiro, and Shluchim, so on. And Sunday will be, go back to yeshiva. Ad kidei kach, they paid for the bus. Just go back to yeshiva. And many of us went back, but then we heard word that the Rebbe, okay, we knew, I think it was known before that the Rebbe was going to give out a kuntas to the Shluchim. That was purely Shluchim. Shafti b'shalom and Beisavi. Then the Rebbe said he's going to distribute dollars to all the assembled through the Shluchim. Now we heard that some of our Chaverim were there. They got those dollars. The Rebbe didn't distribute it personally to each person. But what does a bacher think when he's in Mars on Alei Teda? He wants to go on shlichus, right? We didn't get those shlichus dollars. So one of my close chaverim came to me, younger than me. He says, "Yosef Chaim." So the whole atmosphere in the yeshiva was kaput. I remember Rabbi Ushansky was from there. It was Nebuch. You have to have mazel for everything. The whole thing, just like everybody was. So this bacher comes and says, we have to write to the Rebbe. It's not fair. We didn't get this dollar for shlichus. So two chutzpah bacher write a letter to the Rebbe. Lama nigara. Worse than that, I saw the tzatl afterwards. It's being taped. I won't even tell you because the tzatl says even worse. Shelo yehei chulu. But I look at it, I shudder. But that's what we wrote. Something into that. It's like Lama nigara. It's not fair. We listened to the Anhala. We missed out. They didn't. You think we got an answer? No, of course not. Two chutzpah boys. 6 months later, based in Sivan, I had done something chutzpah around Holler. The Melech Al Hashem called me in and said, he did it very, very wisely. He spoke to me, the first in New York, Porteg Zechapru. Go, take it easy in New York for a few days. Soll heißen, it'll mean, what will be said is that you were asked to leave, but like, you didn't want to kick me out. Okay. By the way, in those days, I lived in Australia. We spoke home every 2 weeks. I wasn't worried that I was going to call my parents for them to make. Maybe if you owed money or something, maybe, I don't know. I didn't make it happen. But anyway, those words, not like today you have the WhatsApp, the email, everybody's in contact. As long as in 2 weeks from now I could say with a straight face everything's okay, then everything's okay. My parents won't know, nobody will know. Sachach will be in Crown Heights, we can eat in 1414. Marstein could eat by Yosker Vilamovsky. A mattress in somebody's room in 1414. Anyway, I had for Shabbos is okay. My Chaver, the same one who wrote with me together, he wrote the tzedel, I signed with him. But I'm not trying to run away from Achrayis, but I'm just saying. He also did something, Maaseh kundas, as it's called in Hebrew. What's Maaseh? Psa Schnitzel. He did something funny. Prank with his Magachir, and he was also asked to leave for a few days. Again, nothing major. It's not like, Yeah, it wasn't nothing so terrible. These days, that would be like shkoyach for doing it. So, and then I hear he's looking for me. He comes running to me, shaken up, with $2. He said that Binyamin Klein, or someone called him and said that letter from Beis Sivan, from Beis Kislev, came out now for the Rebbe of $2.
When you were in New York.
We were both basically kind of kicked out. Both of us didn't go on shlichus as Bachim. Both of us went on shlichus after the Chassid. We didn't go on shlichus Bachim. Who wants troublemakers? The Anhola. Okay. I don't blame them. I also wouldn't take me in that kind of scenario. I want to talk about Rei and Eman. The sheep herd, say that we know that Moshe Rabbeinu took care of the herd. Uftu is, it runs away. A faithful shepherd goes after that sheep as well. So I'm one of those sheeps. Tafshin Pei Beis was Shnas Hameh V'Esen. Shnas Hameh V'Esen with the Rebbe. And everybody, all shluchim, it was a conference call and everything. If in Shnas HaShivim, the Rebbe asked for 71 new institutions, so in Shnas HaMevaesim, there has to be not 121 institutions, 1,210 at least. So there was, shluchim said how much they're going to do. Guys like Rabbi Lazar took 120, Rabbi Kunin took 120, 121. I'm saying, Tzorfas, France took 121. But,
This was one of the 1,200.
Yagdol.
The new.
I didn't know. So we took also, by the way, one of the achlats I took is try and get these stories written. I haven't what's the to do it.
Let's do it.
Let's get together on it. It's critical. But one of the we decided to open 2 Batei Chabad, bring 2 new shluchim. One of them was to Kopangan, which is an island of Kosovo. Anyway, to check it out, to see if it's taka, we can do it, whatever, I decided I want to go there. But there's somebody, an Israeli, who has something there, Habayit Israeli or something like that. I said, I want to go, but I don't want to make a statement that I'm coming there as Chabad to check it out. You know what? I asked my wife if she'll go with me.
Going on vacation.
I'm going on vacation.
Undercover.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't, go with jeans. I didn't put on baseball cap, go with jeans and t-shirt. I went like I go. And we went around. We saw the things. Okay. We got a little feel that in other words, what changed there is there's a lot more people that come there to live with families. It used to be just full moon parties. That's just the people that come to party. That's very trust in that aspect. But in the aspect that there's today digital nomads, people that can work anywhere on their laptops, and they want to get away from Tel Aviv, and they come with families too. Okay. The only way you can access Kopangan, though, is by ferry, either from Suratani or from Koh Samui. Koh Samui, we have Chabaras. So we took a flight to Koh Samui. We took the speedboat to Kopangan. On the way back, it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Thailand. We slept overnight, and 4 o'clock we get on the ferry back. That's not a ferry. Speedboat stinks of kerosene. For me, it's very uncomfortable. It's a half-hour ride back, choppy. I get a call. It's an American number. The guy calls me. It's a guy who I was with in yeshiva. He's a businessman. He calls me and says, I said, what are you doing up? I haven't spoken to him in like 20 plus years. He says, I get up early to learn. He gets up like 4 a.m. to learn. Okay. He tells me he has a son who at some stage exited the yeshiva system, went to the Israeli army, has tattoos and earrings and things, but he's a chassid of the Rebbe. He feels very connected. Long hair and so on. He told me just now he's going to an island somewhere. I think there's no Chabad. There's Chabad not far from there. I said, I'm just sitting on this. I'm pinching myself. I said, is this Kopangan by any chance? He says, no, I don't think so. It doesn't sound like it. I said, could you check? He calls me back when I'm still on the speedboat, I think. He tells me, yeah, my son said it's Kopangan. I said, do you understand? In my 30 years, 28 at that time, 29 years in Thailand, I was in Kopangan 2 other times, both times to check it out. And both times I went with the Chemia. Well, we didn't feel it was too plus, it was too. But this is the 3rd time, and now we're looking at opening a place. You're telling me that your son, a kid of Anash, is going there. I said, we're about to open a Chabad house. Which to me was unbelievable. A few months later, we opened up another Chabad house recently in Pai. Pai is 770 times up the mountain from Chiang Mai. I think it's Mendel Zions is there.
Building a
mikveh now. He needs $15,000 to get the contractor on the ground, and he's.
FYI.
What does that mean?
Just for your information.
I had an idea of somebody to ask for. Actually, I had an idea of somebody who I forgot to ask the guy for it. Okay. Reminded me now. I call upon him. The guy, as Yanamacha, I think he just got a yedid. He doesn't have to have operations, have a fushlan. I call upon him. So, Eliel ben Rachel. So we went up to. Let me tell you about Pai. Oh, so in Pai, I needed to show the shliach some money. could be I owed him the money. Could be he got there was a shtickle grant maybe from Raw or something that I had used and I owed it to him. I don't remember. So I called this guy from Kopangan and said, look, whose son is going to go to Kopangan? I said, do me a favor. I want to make a shalshelis. I need to send money to Pai. You give money. Can I ask you to give money for Kopangan? $15,000. In the meantime, I'll pay it to Pai, but I'll pay it back to Kopangan. I want to make a poser, I told him. Make a poser like that. I did. So this guy says, you know what? Done. I'm sending you $18,000. And how did you know that my son said when he finishes Kopangan, he's going to Pai? So it fell on Udin in the Shaman. So he did. Sometime later, I was listening to the Sikha of the Rebbe from the Shivim Ve'echad Meisdes. What do I hear? The Rebbe says, that year he says, I'm going to give 10% of all the new Meisdes in 70 years, but different than usual, I'm going to give it up front. Usually you have to first pay the 90%, I'll give you the last 10%, giving it up front. Only later, around Yud Aleph Nisan, did I realize what happened here. That in Shnas HaMe'ah Ve'esrim, the Rebbe did the same thing for me. I landed in a place, right away, the Rebbe said, basically the first year expense was 180. 18 just came like that. We sent a shliach to Kopangan. This is just now a brackets. We sent Baruch Hashem. In Pai, it's Rabbi Wilhelm's son-in-law, daughter and son-in-law. In Kopangan, it's Rabbi Ashkenazi's daughter and son-in-law. But he couldn't find a place to rent because it's very popular, it's very hot, there's not enough building there. So what liked Lahavdil Min Chaim L'Chaim, Gavriel Holzberg, Gabi. You remember why he had to buy a building? Beryl, why did he buy a building? You know why? Because nobody wanted to rent to him. I remember he called me. I said, Gabi, you're only there 3 years. Why are you looking at a building? Because he called Americas, he wants to buy a $1.5 million building. And Rabbi Kadash says, first Yosef Chaim has to go see it, make sure it's okay. But it says, Gabi, you're only there 2-3 years. Who buys a building after 3 years? You know what he tells me? Nobody wants to rent to me. Whoever heard of such a svara, nobody wants to rent to you, so you're going to buy. I mean, that's Lachat Chila Rib, if you ask me. And he bought, and it's a gelungin. I mean, if I tell you that when I went to check it out, for some strange reason, I thought no car bomb will be able to get here. It's such a small. I don't know why I thought that, but well, it's lan. Anyway, so long Yoren we have Baruch Hashem. There's a shliach there, so Kozlovsky. It's a tutzach. Unbelievable situation there. We don't understand any Tony Yedei now why we have a brother and sister that were killed there and 4 other Yidden that were killed there. But Akoponim, this young man, Pangam, we have the same svara. Can't rent, you gotta buy. To a Yid said, I'm not going to give you money for Kopangan, I don't believe in it. All this, a big amount. It was 100. I meet him after, like, what happened? He says, well, you wrote to me that you're doing it even though you know the supporters don't agree with you, you have no choice. I got COVID. I went to visit my elderly parents in Toronto. And then they got COVID the day I landed, which means they didn't get it from me. And they got better. So I wanted to give thanks to the Eibush. The point you wrote to me then, that you do, I said, you know what? You and another yeshiva benefited. Each one sent us 100. Then somebody else sent us a Kitzer. We bought it. And hopefully by Gimel Tammuz we'll Mitcham, this Gimel Tammuz will finish the last amounts, Mitcham. But I went to somebody, all of a sudden I had sfekas. Should I buy it? We don't have the money. Shouldn't I buy it? Is it really worth the value? So I checked the value, it's good value. And I asked a guy who had a kesher with the Rebbe, I can tell you his name, but he's a Talmud of Rabbi Din Even Yisrael. He considers himself a Yenik, a Talmud. Very big Talmud Das guy. I said, what do I do? I had engagement with him in Israel about something. I told him, I'm not sure, should I go through with the sale? We put down a 10% down payment, I can still back out. Should I go through or not? He says, ask the Rebbe. Okay, I know I can ask the Rebbe, but to hear it from a guy who considers himself a full adinnik, it's a little bit different. Anyway, so he asked the Rebbe. Okay, so I was on my way to New York. I come to the oil, I write the tzdodim of the thing. Ask the Rebbe. The next day, I'm pulling up 5 a.m. by the mikveh, by the oil, and I'm listening to a sikha of the Rebbe, Purim Tafshin Lamed Gimel. In the middle of the sikha, the Rebbe says, the chlal ben satzatomit chinuch, and chinuch means for young people or people that are young because they don't have yediyas in Torah. You have to do it right away, and if you have to borrow money, you borrow money. Umelait vunor selosach. Wherever you're able to borrow money, you borrow money. Because money you can pay back tomorrow. Well, Geld kann man zurückzahlen morgen oder übermorgen. You pay it tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But to get back that neshama, if he's ready to go into your chinuch, you pushed him off, you don't know if you can get him tomorrow. I had my answer. We jumped in, and it's going to be good.
Kohen Neman.
Raya Neman. It doesn't matter if it's Cantor and his friend, Toshem Amches, who are about to make an exit, obviously, and the Rebbe needs to give them that little, bring them back in. Ever saved us, obviously. Or Tafshin Pei Beis, or some guy, he looks like what he looks, but he's going to be in Kopangana at least, even though he rarely comes. He rarely came, but he knew there's shluchim there. And his parents knew that the Rebbe's boys are there in the same island where their son is. Raya Neman. The Rebbe is a Raya, the Rebbe is constantly shepherding his flock. And if we all have the schus, doesn't matter if you're officially a shliach, not officially a shliach, we all have the schus as being the Rebbe's kinder, and the Rebbe's boys, and the Rebbe's arms and legs, to be able to be part of that shepherding, to be able to be there for a yid, offering to put on tefillin. Just offer him a cup of tea, just a listening ear, you're there with no agenda, but to be able to help somebody else. Chaim.
By the way, I got $1. I was there. He came from Argentina. Together with Mendy Cuda.
Playing over here.
Ay, 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 I also got $1, but 6 months later. It's like your answer. I seem to meet you in very happy occasions.
There's a video playing over here. We have a gem now. We have it here.
Oh, I told me about it. I haven't seen it.
They put content that are relevant to With the target, the youngsters.
Oh,
I think around Polen. Yeah, so we complained about it. I know. Speaking about the garden over here, the opinion also, even though it's after only a year, it's a few months this year, but to buy it together.
Yep, I know him.
I know.
Creator of this.
Because of the Giants, he just messaged me 2 weeks ago. In New York, if there's any people in Montreal that can help him with the nickname.
Spoke that the Maimer, the Rebbe writes, it's important to know there's a Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation. It's Pashtusa, the Moshe B'chol Dara. The Rebbe writes, Meir,
Not for you, I can't hear.
Shah is when there's Nevi'as HaMeichel, say Shah. When there's just, somebody once told me he has constipation, emotional constipation. Anyway, so the Rebbe says, the Roshei Alfi Yisrael, close it right away. Take some laxative, close it. The Roshei Alfi Yisrael Shebechol Der Mechaskim Samun Yisrael Shebedeira. The Roshei Alfi Yisrael, the tzaddikim in every day, the mechazik, the munah of the Jews in their generation. I want to tell you a statement that I got that maybe that knocked me off my feet, made me. I told during the shir maybe. I met a shliach. I won't tell you who he is. I saw him and he's broken. He made an event for Gimel Tammuz in his kehillah. 20 people showed up. He's a guy who has every Shabbos 400 people. I said, like, what were you expecting? He said, it's Gimel Tammuz. I brought a special speaker from Israel. I had a similar experience. We're sitting in Yutas Kislev this year. We have by us a very special Jew. He's the rice farmer. I'm not going to tell you his whole story. You can look up, Google, Jewish rice farmer, Thailand, Chabad Darog will pop up a video. Actually, I think he's from here. The guy who takes the videos, Zalmi something. I think he's originally from here. Glassner. He lives in Australia now.
Yeah.
So when we did a 20-year dinner, which we're going to do a 30-year now, which names himself Hakel. Still under the wraps. We're very last minute, but did a 20-year dinner in New York for Chabad of Thailand. So we brought down Zalmi Glassner to fill some things, and I sent him to the rice farm to interview a guy called Zavulun. This is a guy whose name was Scott. He was 50 years old. He was in the Navy. He knew he had a Jewish mother. He never knew anything about Yiddish guy. He married to a Thai lady, 3 kids. He had overcome addictions and so on. And then he said he wants to learn about his Yiddish guy. He came and found a rabbi. Make a long story short, became Meniach Tefillin, kosher. His son was Megayer, and he got married in Crown Heights 2 years ago around Gimel Tammuz. Binyamin, you can see him in Crown Heights. Baruch Hashem, got married. His wife's from Toronto. They have a girl, Shayna. But this Zvulun, so I sent Zalmi to tape him. He was so inspired by me, he made at his own expense a clip just about Zvulun the rice farmer. And Chabad.org has it. It was translated to Russian also. It's a very inspiring story. A Yiddu,
I'll put it on the WhatsApp, sir.
they thought he was lost, but all of a sudden his neshama comes back to life. So he told me, so he has the days when he comes into Bangkok from the rice farm, it's a schlep, and he's on a Navy pension, he's limited financially. Rosh Hashanah doesn't come, we gave him a shofar, he knows how to blow shofar. Comes Pesach, comes Shavuos. From the very first time he heard about Shavuos, he started coming, he said, this has got to be the biggest day of the year. That's the day when everything started. And that's the day when he got his first aliyah ever to the Torah. By the way, that he chose the name Zvulun because he was in the Navy. On the way to his aliyah, he said, Rabbi, I also want to study Torah. Maybe I should take Yisachar. I said, no, you take Zvulun. So the name is Zvulun, it's the name that he chose. He comes, one second, he comes Pesach, Shavuos. By the way, Pesach he stays usually, he's able to, he stays the whole Pesach and eats all the meals by us. This way he doesn't have to deal with what's going on in the farm. Pesach, Shavuos, Yom Kippur, Simchas Torah, Yutas Kislev, Yud Shvat. Those are the days he comes. Gimel Tammuz, most of us usually aren't there. So Yutas Kislev we're verbringen, and he tells me a compliment. Rabbi, I think I feel so connected to the Alter Rebbe, more than to the Rebbe. Huh?
And that's a compliment.
And he's looking at me with a big smile. I don't know where to hide myself. It's Pashtus of the nation. What did I ever say?
Gone in the furnace, it's in him.
So either he's from the day of the Alter Rebbe, Pasha.
It's an old soul.
Or so you have to understand, sometimes he asked me for a picture. I have a picture with Gan Yisrael, Tafshin Nun Aleph. At the end of Gan Yisrael, the Rebbe gave dimes, and so I have a picture. The Rebbe gave us dimes to give to the kids. He asked me for that picture years ago when he first was Skarev. So I asked my mashpia. I said, "Can I?" I think he says, "Look, you have to just explain to him that a Rebbe is not a super chassid. A Rebbe is a different malchus than a chassid because he may not. Once you explain that to him, if for him it's a chavivus because he feels close to you, and this is a picture where he sees the Rebbe giving you your hashpah, and he feels as long as he understands. Because some people think they don't understand what a Rebbe is, a different malchus. It's a neshama klolis. It's a neshama that's a different thing. It is. It's like, okay, so you have to take, in other words, he's a rice farmer. But so you know what I told him? I realized that Tanya speaks to him very deeply, because Tanya speaks, by the way, to recovery. Tanya's, and my Shabbos morning shir till then was L'Kudei Torah. When you give a shir or something. So immediately I changed my shir, of course, so that was my mother. And I told him, do you have a kvius in the Rebbe's Igros Kodesh? Just by the way, when I told him every Simchas Torah we have a kvius by us, that after HaKofis we have a Suda, and then reminiscent, Mashke, if you took a Yisafa and things, we started a custom, we give. Now everybody drinks Benedictine. The olden days, Benedictine was still a little more, he kept it under the wraps. We used to, Simchas Torah, we took out the Benedictine. Everybody would take it. We went around the table. Everybody took a Yisafa, Torah, Mitzvah, something. So they used to be giving them Simchas Torah something, giving them a mission. Rabbi, tell us what we have to do this year. They'd love to have just like something like kapot, like gartel. But that's too easy. No. So one year, Rambam, he said it's hard for him halacha. Then his son became a ger tzedek, and he needed a shidduch. So I thought to myself that I want to give him the schus to learn Rambam, and the schus of learning the takana, learning Rambam, is a makar of bracha. There's so many stories that have come about from people taking upon themselves learning Rambam. Unbelievable. on incredible stories. I didn't want to tell him why I wanted to learn it. I said, because he listens to me. If I tell him, the Kabbalah said, please take on one perek a day. I'll tell you one day. It was COVID. He couldn't come for Simchas Torah. This is my Simchas Torah. I was requesting him. One day I'll tell you. He starts learning. When he gets to Sefer Noshim, his son starts going out. By the way, his son is from a Thai mother and a Jewish father. He looks a little bit Thai and a little bit Western. By the time he gets to Hilchos Gerushin, he gets engaged. I said, no. Gerushin and Kiddushin are intertwined, not in a bad way. The strength of Kiddushin is because you know there's an exit. No,
strategy.
that's why the whole time it's your choice. Don't sit there and kvetch. People kvetch about their wives. Hello. You know there's a way out. So if you're kvetching, you're still in, it's because you choose to be in. So don't, make the best of it. Reframe it. If you choose to be in, at least you should. Anyway, Baruch Hashem, he got engaged. But so I told him though, what about Igus Kedish? He never heard it. He never learned it. Sorry. Many years ago, Shmuel Lu Fabrengt, Reb Shmuel Lu, that he learns, he has a Kfis in Igus Kedish, he's already gone through twice. All the Krach of Igus Kedish. And I remember coming back from a Kinnis HaShluchim several years ago with that Achlot, and it's incredible. Every day.
Just read it.
Then this year I met Rabbi Gluchovsky from Rehovot by the oil. He says, Yosef Chaim, I want to tell you something. Remember we were talking about the Igus and Shmuel Lu. I just discovered the English letters. The English letters that were written in English. They're not the same as the Hebrew ones. Not translated ones. And he said, I have a kvias now in English letters as well. There's an app called Rebbe Responsa. I just want to explain to you the English letters. I'm talking Gimel Tammuz.
What's the app called?
Rebbe Responsa app. Listen to this letter. Listen to this letter that was written in English. Okay, it's translated, but the original is in English. This is from 16th Shvat, 5711, Tafshin Yud Aleph. Referring to the second part of the Rebbe is writing here to somebody. Referring to the second part of your letter, I was immensely gratified to learn of your desire to be associated with the sacred undertaking of the oil for my father-in-law of sainted memory, which is in the course of erection. They were building the oil of the Frierdiker Rebbe. The Rebbe is writing to a donor who's giving money. Tzaddikim, the righteous, as you know, do not require any such monuments for themselves. You are no doubt familiar with the saying of our sages that the everlasting deeds and accomplishments of the tzaddikim during their lifetime are their eternal monuments. This is particularly obvious in the case of my father-in-law of sainted memory, who dedicated his entire life to practical deeds and accomplishments in the fields of Torah dissemination, strengthening traditional Judaism, establishing kosher education, and the general betterment of Jewish material and spiritual life everywhere. One phase of his far-reaching work, I'm happy to learn that you have become personally associated with, is the work of the Religious Release Hour, which is of paramount importance. I'm just going to skip a little bit. Such a tzaddik does not require a marble monument for himself. However, for us who remain behind and who can no longer benefit from the physical yet sublime presence of the great tzaddik, a physical monument is necessary to stimulate the inspiration which we receive from the saintly Rebbe during his lifetime. The oil is a visible reminder of the source of such inspiration. In a deeper sense, the oil at the sacred resting place of the tzaddik's body, over which hovers also some of the tzaddik's saintliness of soul, separated as it is from the surrounding world by its walls and roof, transfers all those who enter into it into a different world, far removed from our troublesome world, into an awe-inspiring sanctuary, where for a time at any rate, they find themselves in unity with the soul of the tzaddik. After spending a few moments in this sacred place, reciting prayers there and remembering the saintly tzaddik and his work, we find ourselves filled with humility and repentance and inspired to greater efforts in upholding the sacred legacy which he has left us and in walking the godly path which he has taught us. It is superfluous to enlarge upon the great zchus of participating in the oil to a person like you, for you will readily appreciate the worthiness of cause, whereby thousands upon thousands are enabled to receive such moral uplift from time to time and maintain their bonds. This is letter, you would say Jacobson wrote it today, like J.Y.Y. or Shays or something. This the Rebbe wrote in 5711. These are atheists that tell you about unbelievable. By the way, the Oil today is a place where 50,000 people are going to go through Gimel Tammuz. If you're able to help Abba Refson to cover those, he hasn't called you for years. He never called. Last year he started calling people the first time. You should see to give the Ayin Yofe if you want to have that schus, but that's an unpaid advertisement. But I'll call upon him. So I asked Zvulun, I told him, Rebbe is sponsor app. Start learning the Rebbe's letters. A week later, he calls me and he says, Rabbi Cantor, he says, the Rebbe is my Rebbe. What happened? I'll tell you what happened. And I have the schus to give a shir in Project Likutei Sichos. I missed a couple of weeks, I'll be honest. Yesterday, I managed to do it in a hotel in Toronto. Last week, I managed to do it in a hotel in Monte Carlo.
Competition.
Right before Shabbos. No, it's not easy to do. When I'm at home, I figure it out. But I have to learn the Sikha twice or three times to be able to upload the shir. But I've never had the experience of learning a Sikha 3 times and then giving a shir once. I have a Zoom shir in Bangkok on the same Sikha. We learn the Sikha a few times, but still in all, to bring the Sikha, sometimes there's a hira, sometimes not. To bring the Sikha into your life is more difficult. The Rebbe's Igros is the Rebbe distilling Chassidus and the Rebbe's perspective into life. It's Pashut, there's answers there about life. Not, you don't have to elevate yourself to some kind of a high level and try and take the lesson from a mimer, from a sikha. Igros Kodesh is the Rebbe telling you what your perspective of life should be. And if you go ala Seder, you start seeing and absorbing, integrating everything that Torah has with Chassidus, with all the Deiras, and the Rebbe's unique distillation and approach in Deir Shviya, how to live life today. It's unbelievable. By the way, going around 7 times the Chassan Kala, the Kala going, who goes around to it? I remember, but the Kala goes around the Chassan. I was by a chuppah and there was a Lubavitcher Shliach, he didn't want to do it, there's a Mekurev. In the English letters of 5711 or 12, the Rebbe explains it. Again, the language the Rebbe uses there, those letters, you would think it was written today by Manis Friedman. That same kind of level that she's creating a home. You know, when you hear it at the chuppah, these guys doing the English part of the chuppah, you cringe. You say, "This is really true." She's wrapping him with it. You got to look at the way that Rebbe explains it. So, I'm saying that it's a different energy than the Hebrew. The Hebrew letters are incredible. The English letters are incredible. You have to. So, Rabbi Gulchovsky was telling me, you got to learn both. The kvias of this, the kvias of that.
Where are the English letters?
Rebbe is sponsor app. And apparently that's the best place to get the letters written in English, and they keep on updating it also. But you can go to the archive and push it go according to year, and every day a few more letters. But the point being, by the way, they say that there's 10,000. What? They say that there's 10,000 more letters. There's a little bit of a disagreement who they belong to. They're having some kind. They got to work things out. Sometimes the good people also have some issues with their nefesh habamis. They got to work things out. In our day, wait, Michal, if you get the lahak every week, he puts out letters also. Anyway, the Rebbe has to be our Rebbe. I'll tell you, we have a kasha. So I talk too much. Huh?
No, it's fine. That's what we're paying you for.
Chai.
Jetzt so geht's auch. Svelk is nicht da?
Yeah, but how do you know when
Yeah, not in town.
We have a Gerem Mashkiach Bas. We have a lot of kashas. One of our business, what do they call it? Profit centers. We have kashas. We like kashas that doesn't really need kashas. Like a simple item, but they want a certificate, so we charge them. I do deals. We got to come expect. We got to charge.
Da machen Geld durch. Yeah.
Anyway, so we have a Geri young man there. He's an alman, actually. He's not such a, So he told me a story that somebody once called the Geri Rebbe. Maybe not this one, maybe whatever, whichever one, I don't know. And he, the Geri is a shaf. He says, "Was hast du von mir gelernt, was du liebst mir Rebbe?" Rebbe means my teacher. What did you learn from me? We all say I don't know what you write in your palm. You know, some people write Chak Admur Melech HaMashiach, Chak Admur Nesidereinu, some just people write Chak Admur. Everybody writes Kveit Kedushas Adinenu, Vedeinu V'Rabbeinu. That's across the board. That nobody has any issue with that. You know what you're saying. Adinenu means my master. My master. With what is the Rebbe your master? What is he, my master? Master means that you don't do what you want, you do what the master wants. Vedeinu, my teacher. Yeah, exactly what. Rabbeinu, also teacher. The Alter Rebbe was sitting in prison, and they came to interrogate him. He was wearing his tefillin, and they ran away in shock. The Alter Rebbe explained, because there's a Ferish Gemara that says, the Rebbe quoted it in 1967. The Goyim will see that the name Hashem is on you, they will fear you. Rabbi Lezer HaGadol says in the Gemara, Eilut Tefillin Shabareish, this refers to the tefillin. So they saw, the Alter Rebbe said, they saw me in tefillin, they ran away in fright and shock. I asked some people, why when I wear tefillin doesn't happen? Nobody runs away in shock and in fear. So the Alter Rebbe explained, it doesn't say Eilut Tefillin Sha'al HaRosh. These are the tefillin on there. It says Eilut Tefillin She'barosh. These are the tefillin in the head. When your tefillin are in your head, then you're a different kind of person. Then the guy runs away from you. But the tefillin are just on the head. They're makif. They're not pnimi. The Aveda, the Rebbe has to be by us in the pnimius. So there's one of the ichulim, one of the wishes we say is that we should go to Mashiach Malkeinu B'Reishenu. Yeah, our king should be in our
head.
He should be in our head. The Rebbe has to be in our head. You know the famous joke about the guy who comes to the restaurant. It's not such a joke these days. And he asks, is it kosher? He says, sure, I have a picture of the Baba Sali on the wall. The guy answered him, if the Baba Sali would be in the kitchen and your picture would be on the wall, I know it's kosher. But you're in the kitchen, the Baba Sali is on the wall, it doesn't do anything. Okay, nobody shame. We're the Babchach Sidim, and the Rebbe is our Adineinu, Medeinu, Rabbeinu, but he has to be Taka. Unser Har, he has to be our master. Pshat, the Rebbe is your master, is that you live your life consistent with what the Rebbe wants you to do. You live your life. Shulchan Aruch, of course, that goes beyond question. Chassidus is the Fnimishus of it. Was Pasfa Chassid, the Rebbe is a Chassid. You know, this is not, by the way, this is in no way depressed kind of speech, not at all. We're in Deir Shvi, we're American boys. But Rebbe said, you're gonna love this. I mean, I know you're Canadian, but you know what I mean. The Rebbe says in Tafshin Lamed Gimel that the American way lends itself to L'Chatchila Rebbe. It's mefedish. I mean, it's a non-Mogidig, but it's there. And the Rebbe gives an example. In America, when they see somebody driving a current model of car, the Rebbe says, which model? They also want to be driving it. What's wrong with last year's model? Americans have to be driving this year's model. The Rebbe connects that with L'Chatchila Rebbe. In other words, that expansiveness, the way of thinking in the old country was we got to put our heads down, we got to hide, we got to not stick out, we got to make sure not to, to kvetch. I was in Shabbos, I spoke in Monaco by Rabbi Matasov at the Simchat Torah. And so I told the story that when I had the schus to speak by the Kiddush HaShluchim, the keynote, so I did 100 hours of preparation at least. I never prepared in my life for such a thing. Can you imagine getting up in front of the thousands of shluchim? So I called up Shmuel Gurevich from Lyon. And he tells me the following. He told me a number of things, but one of the stories he told me is that when he went to Lyon, the Rebbe spoke to me in Chiddush very forcefully. We told him, him and his wife, maybe they had even 2 kids or 1 kid. Like it was like almost everyone was screaming him like, "Weil die Franzosen haben nicht lieb kein Säure Peneme." The French people don't like sour face. Okay, he went out. At some stage, he opened a school, and he needed a building. France is a socialist country. You can get from the government. He went to see the Minister of Education. The guy said he can't help him. Next day, he calls me and says, come. I think maybe I can help you. We can find a building. What happened? The guy went home, and he had an elderly father. He used to be a bank manager. Was retired. And he would share with his father, so his father should have nachas from what, should be able to live vicariously through his day. He shared what his day was. He told him, that he had today, this bearded rabbi who's a Hasidic came to him. So he said, oh, that's interesting. You know, in the encyclopedia, this is pre-Wikipedia. And you have to have printed encyclopedia. In the encyclopedia, I read that there's a group of Jews that are happy. They're called Hasidim. They're the happy Jews. And I really, really think they're really good people, because the one thing I can't stand about the Jews is I was a bank manager. These Jews used to come to me fully loaded. I know what's in their bank. And they're always kvetching. Oh, yeah. Sour face. Always. And I read that there's some kinds of Jews that are called happy Jews. You got to help them. You got to promote happiness. Happy Jews. So they called him back and he gave him a book. They never said, you got to be happy about the. My friends, I don't want to talk about depressed things. That's not for us. This year, the Rebbe's kapitel is samachti. There's a lot of other stuff in the kapitel. There's one word that jumps out when you say the Rebbe's kapitel. Shema is the David. Samachti. The Rebbe wants happy chassidim. The Rebbe wants joyous chassidim. The only way that we really know when somebody's into something is when he does it with joy. Simcha v'tuv levav. The Arizal touches the pasuk. The Rambam touches the pasuk. The Rebbe touches the pasuk. Tachas Hashem le'avat. If you don't serve Hashem with simcha, the whole thing means you weren't really into it. The only way to show that you were really into it is doing it with simcha. Everything we're talking about here, we're not talking chas v'shalom, old school and oy vey, and you know that's old fashioned. The Rebbe wants us to be happy Jews, simcha dika Jews, and we have the capacity. Look, if the only thing there is to drink here, if somebody's looking for something simple, like Johnny Walker Red, you can't even find it here. Even Smirnoff, the only Grey Goose. You want Vice, you can't. You understand? We're happy people. We're at the lap of luxury, not just with Gashmis, Beruchnis also. Beruchnis, we're in a place that we've never been before. No, we have opportunities available to us. Any guy that just wants a snap of the finger, he can jump into unbelievable things. Just have to want. Everyone wants us to be happy, samachti, not depressed people. That was for the olden days. Maybe I don't know if it was right then or not right then. I don't know. Our generation, clearly, the Rebbe in the Margalit and Puma in Tashem Envov, and many other places. We got simcha. We have to be joyous, be happy, samachti, be'emimli. Forget the oivei Jews, the oyei Jews. L'chaim. Song we sing by Kiddush HaShluchim. I always come home from the Kiddush HaShluchim with one song. You know what song? Ah, did it Allah, ya, did it Allah, ya, did it Allah, ya, la, ya, did it Allah, ya, la, China. China. Remind me your name.
No, it's from Switzerland.
Ah, you live here?
No, no, no.
You're in Switzerland. My brother's from.
He said, say something, Yossi Levine, Yossi Levine.
Slowly. Kayan. Send a picture to your brother. Send him a selfie.
I'm waiting. Now it's I'm waiting.
Hey, no, I know you get all that, you know. Hey, no, I know you get all that, you know. Ah, did I lie, yeah, did I lie, yeah, did I lie. Oh, Science.
Can be everywhere. Time. Complain about it.
Cloud people that are of this level should have a charter.
Oh, okay. Where are we
I want to talk about the new tefillin I have.
Oh, Yagdil Air.
The old tefillin say, "Are we making a bus?"
Oh.
The new tefillin people,
Come.
same Dalit Meichin.
You don't have to convince Shalom. Shalom already put a reservation for the plane.
No, but the problem is going through all the technicalities of commercial travel is not for Anoshim Kerken.
That's true. I agree. Shalom, he's talking your language.
I was sitting today and suffering the indignities of.
As a matter of fact, my son wants to start Yagdil Air. What's Yagdil Air? It's a geweldige Sache. once a month or once a quarter, hire a private jet, take 10 Yunga lines, go to a rural shliach, February, St. Shabbos. That's Yaakov.
That's Hakel.
Yeah, obviously it's got to be private jet. That's Yaakov. Chaim.
David families financially.
The point of the mimer, my dear friends, if you have to say shh, it's not worth the whole business.
I harnish. Ich darf so ein Verzirr.
كيف hearing aid?
I'm not going there.
Okay, good. Ich höre nicht das erste Mal, höre ich nicht das zweite.
Yeah.
I met a Jew today in the morning. He's a Gabbet Stocker, but on the side he does promotional items. I said, my friend in Australia does promotional items. Maybe they can help each other. I called my friend, said, you want me to introduce you? He says, somebody just called me the other day and says, I just had a thought to learn one Perek Rambam a day with you. This is a guy who should be learning Rambam. And he said, since then, already a few weeks, we're learning every day together one Perek Rambam. He quotes me from a Tzaddik, Priyat Tzaddik, something. When you have a Machshava Teva, you got to jump into it right away, not think. Afterwards, you can think how to do it, but first you got to jump into it. Okay. He doesn't need to see Tzaddik. We know the Rebbe told us this all the time. But okay. Point being, about the Machshava Teva, gotta jump right into it. The Maimer at Megillah, the whole Maimer is telling us that the Rebbe doesn't want to create something different within us, doesn't want to make something new, doesn't want to change us. He doesn't want to change us. He just wants us to be authentically who we are. And who we really are is the Pnimius, is the Neshama, is the Etzem HaNeshama. And that's it. That's why when you take away all the distractions, all the problems from the outside, you give a Yid pure good, you know what you land up with? You land up with a Yid who's kassis. He's subrachim because he wants God, he wants a likus. That's what a Yid is. Yid wants a likus. You know, there's beautiful things that with Nisgala in our generation. Mayor wanted to hear, well, what's my take on reframing Gimel Tammuz? Somebody once asked me, Yosef Chaim, no, he didn't ask me Yosef Chaim. He asked me, we were speaking in a group, when would you want to be born? So I said, you know when I would want to be born? When would you want to be born if you had a chance?
An hour after Mashiach, yeah.
I said, I'd like to be 18 years old at Tafshin Yud. Tafshin Yud Aleph. I figured that would be beautiful. So the people there, they weren't Lubavitchers. They looked at me with big eyes. And I said, what, did I say something wrong? No, Rabbi, we just thought you would have said Exodus, Sinai. Well, you know, I never thought of that. I didn't. But if you think about it with new glasses, when would you want to be born? Somebody here said it, exactly when I was born. When would I want to live? Exactly right now. It's nice to be melancholy and nostalgic. And yes, I would love to be that Sicha, Tafshin Tazvov, that ever says you want to be rich, raise up your hands. Not because I would have raised up. I would have been like all the other guys, wouldn't have raised up my hands. I would have followed the herd mentality. By the way, there's a Yid who came to the Rebbe, it's on video, by Machne Yisrael, and she says, I heard, Rabbi, you said that if you want, you were disappointed that people can raise their hands. We're raising both our hands. The Taka became big. Teimchim of many good things. Achoponim, but we are when we are. And the Eibishter wants us exactly when we are. And the Rebbe, in his Nasias, wants us, me and you and I, and everybody else here, exactly in Tafshin Pei Gimel, Beis Tammuz. This is where the action is. And the action, the whole 6,000 years is waiting for us. See what we're going to do with our lives right now. It's coming Gimel Tammuz. Gimel Tammuz is not Gimel Tammuz is a day of that needs to catapult us to a different place. We talk about Mashiach, wanting Mashiach, bringing Mashiach, learning Mashiach. It's about being in a different zone. It's about seeing the emes shebachol davar, the elikus, and not settling for less. So we all know the story of Rabbi what's his name, Weinreb. Well known. It's on Gem.
No.
Tzvi Weinreb, who writes to the Rebbe, who calls the Rebbe when he's in Baltimore and he's not sure if he should continue rabbinics. He's studying philosophy.
Yep.
He's mixed. He's confused about B'tochen, Emunah, and Hashem. And he sees that the Rebbe in Brooklyn will be able to help me. He calls, Rabbi Chadikov answers, and he says, Rabbi Chadikov answers, Beret. He says, Ayid from Baltimore. He doesn't want to say his name. From Maryland. And he hears the Rebbe. And then he hears the Rebbe saying, and Rabbi Chadikov paraphrases, Must feel Ayid from Maryland. He says, Atzvekis. The Rebbe basically says, Ayid, Maryland, was says Weinreb. So as if Duchle Zach mit Weinreb. Rabbi Chadikov paraphrases. There's a Jew in Maryland, his name's Weinreb. You should speak to Weinreb. So Weinreb says, Ich heiss Weinreb. I'm Weinreb. Rabbi Chadikov says, his name is Weinreb. The Rebbe says, tell him he should speak with himself. Sometimes you have to speak things through with yourself. Basically, the Rebbe was telling him, you have everything you need. You just have to uncover within yourself who you truly are. You don't need somebody from the outside. We know Tafshin Lamed Hey, there's a Lamed Dalet, I think, the famous answer to the Moshe Yitzchak Hecht. He seems to be a little bit of a depressed soul, the Moshe Yitzchak. You just follow the answers that he got and the Kiruv he got. The Hecht seems to have a few different strains. Anyway, so the Rebbe writes to him. He basically wrote to the Rebbe, that's it. I can't do it. The Rebbe should take back the keys, kind of. Like the Rebbe should take over. The Rebbe says, Kfar City, Terem Yikro Vani Ene. Before you even called out, I answered. Kfar Sisi, I did already what you asked, and I sent that at Moshe Yitzchak Hecht. Who kedai she'yifgesh, I say. The Rebbe is telling him that he sent him there, and if you meet yourself, you basically all your problems will be answered. Uncover who you are. Don't look outside. Don't look. The Rebbe says, we also it's on video. The guy says, Ich bin kommen da, ich finde Yiddishkeit, I can't find Yiddishkeit. The Rebbe says, don't look anywhere else. Look in your heart. The Yiddishkeit is in your heart. And that's in the Kud of the Maimer. The Kud of the Maimer is it's there inside of you. That the Rebbe reveals inside. We have to come to the Rebbe to find it. Come to the Rebbe to find out that it's inside of you. So we have it. Everybody has it in their own way. The gift that we have of Derech Shvi is incredible. And the thing is that some people get caught up in Chitzenis and they can't look beyond that. And they just don't get it. Because, look, Chitzenis, we don't all look like we looked 50 years ago. There's many different looks. But deep down, anyone who's shaykhs to the Rebbe, anyone who's shaykhs to Kahal, Arnash, Chassidim, Shluchim, and so on, there's the ruach of the Rebbe that is payim b'kivam, that is uppermost in their mind, that they'll always be ready to give something for a year, to offer, to do a mitzvah with a year. It's incredible. The guy looks like a Schweitzer, the guy looks like a Isvorf, but he's a Lubavitcher, and he can't bear to see the fact that there's another year that didn't put on film. It's an incredible thing that the Rebbe instilled within us. So maybe sometimes we have to get a little bit better about understanding that we have to take care of ourselves also. The Rebbe said we had the schus to be the head counselors in Gan Yisrael, New York. So one of the biggest things in Gan Yisrael, New York was that at the end of camp there was a kinnis. So interesting, in Tafshin Nun, Gan Yisrael, New York came back on a different date than Amunah. Amunah had a sikha, Gan Yisrael, New York didn't have a sikha. In Tafshin Nun Aleph, they came back as usual, it was supposed to be on the same day. The Rebbe said a sikha, there was a daven mincha with the kids. Dismissal from camp was after the kindness, after the sikha, and you picked up your bags afterwards from. So at the end of the sikha, the Rebbe distributed dimes to all the kids. The way it went, he gave it to the anhola and the head counselors. In my years already, you didn't have to give a speech in front of the Rebbe. But in the earlier years, that counselors, as part of the kindness, gave a speech in front of the Rebbe. But still, it was a speech that was. So in my year already, I gave it. But it was before the Rebbe came down. I think the story I told was a guy who was the first time he ever on a train, and he bought a first class ticket, but he didn't know what you do, so he followed everybody else. He went in the economy, and he followed the guys that didn't pay the ticket. With the guys that never paid for a ticket, they hid under the bench. But he wasn't so good at hiding, and his tachas, was sticking out. And the ticket conductor came and tzitzis, okay. And the guy schlepped him out, and he says, "Why did you buy a ticket?" He says, "What do you mean?" He pulls out a ticket, a first class ticket. The conductor says, "You mishugana. You bought a first class ticket, and you're hiding under the thing." So the point being that boys and girls, no, we didn't have girls. Kinderlach and Gan Yisrael understand. You have to understand you have a first class ticket. Why are you acting? You're mimicking the goyim. They have to hide under the seats. They don't have a ticket. We have a first class ticket. You have to go like a yid. Anyway, but that was not in the Rebbe's presence, of course. The Rebbe gave dimes to be divided by all the kids. And then the Rebbe said, when we went by, my Chave Yosef Yitzchak Chadakov, with three head counselors, Yosef Chadakov, myself and David Sputz. He's from here, isn't he? So the Rebbe told us, "Give me Yeder and Drai." First time, Shem Tov, it's long year went by, and Yosef Futifas. And then he gave us thing. It says, "Give me Yeder and Drai." Give each kid three, and then the Rebbe added, "Zen nemen fasich eich." Make sure to take for yourself as well, and a huge smile. First to Yossi, smile went down, went to me, went down, went again to Yossi, David. There's a moment's etched, like it took nanoseconds, but Zen Emen Fazichrech is it's one of the. I was always trying to understand those words, but later, a few years ago, I heard Hillel David Krinsky tell us the following Maisa. Hillel David was the originator of GEM. We're very thankful to GEM. Thank God. Like now we say, why didn't they take videos? You know that when they took videos, not everybody was so excited they're taking videos.
Yeah.
And Chal was an innovative thing. Thank God. Revolutionary.
Even in the recordings in the 50s.
Yeah, well, the Rebbe took from the citizenship, and the citizenship should be color, but it was unbelievable. So in Yud Shvat Tavshin Mem, I think it was, that they asked permission to, I think CBS wanted to film the Rebbe. Maybe I got the year wrong, but one of those years. And the Rebbe gave Rishus, and Hillel David Krinsky was in charge of working with them. And the Yudel asked the Rebbe afterwards if he wants to see how it came out. It came out nice, the footage. The Rebbe said, yeah. So Yudel asked his son, Hillel David, to set up the video. And Hillel David assumed that his father will wheel it in and just press play. His father said, no, I want you to, you come and press play. Okay, you have to go in. And the Rebbe watched it. Then the Rebbe asked Hillel David, das Eich mitgetanzt? And Hillel David didn't answer. Do you also dance along? The Rebbe asked again, is Eich mitgetanzt? And then the Rebbe told him, I heard it from him a few times, Stame, Zicher, or maybe Zicher, Stame, it was both the Shenis were there, I think. As the ton, Mamshach Zayin ton in them, you're going to continue working with these in this avenue. Then they said, so Zen Eich mittanzen Eich, whatever the lashon was. You should make sure also to literally dance along. The Pashas, you hear exactly what the Rebbe is saying. The good is when you're advising media at an event what to do, you're not part of the event. You see always when the Rebbe tells the cameraman to also say l'chaim, don't just be at the event, you also have to participate in the event. The Rebbe is giving us dimes. You should give everybody three of them. Make sure you also take from that ashpah. You see, when we do the inyanim that we do, sometimes, counselors in camp is the typical example. They bench with the kids. You've never seen the counselors davening with the kids, bench with the kids. You ever a counselor? Ashrei, Yoshrei, Veisecha. You think we're going to get double points? Hello, you're not davening. Like, what's? It can't be. You're not just a transmitter of something, and you're not part of it. We got to be part of it. So the Rebbe gives through us, unquestionably, anybody who has a Shimcha Gadol V'Hakadosh Aleinu Kol, anybody who's identifiably Lubavitch, Chabad, Rebbe, through us are incredible things. I mean, in a sense, somebody that's not officially. I recently met a very, 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 very wealthy person, but he tells me that's rabbi talk. Like you have to say that you're a rabbi. Sometimes when it's somebody who's officially a rabbi, a shliach, people look at it as rabbi talk. When you're out there in the fields, those days they used to be in the fields. Today, in the fields means, what? In the business world, out there. And you say, I met actually that guy, I'm telling you, very, very. My biggest gvir looks at him with a big derech eretz, so I guess he must be. I don't know how to value a bank account, but it seems like he's very wealthy. So I pulled out. I was in a meeting with him. I pulled out my film. I had a briefcase, like a Kinzer Shluchim bag, and he asked me something. He has a big contact in the fish industry. Do you do fish industry? I said I thought he wanted me to bring a contact. Then I understood he thinks I'm in business. Told him the letter of the Rebbe to Chaim Mitchell Drizzen's balabas. Why the Rebbe didn't want there should be a business attached to every Chabad. There's two reasons there. It's an English letter. You should look in the letter if you haven't seen it yet. But I'll call him. Then I pull out my tefillin and said, "Look, I don't know if you guys put on film. There was two people that. All I have in my bag, so it's nothing. It's just film. But I want to be respectful. I'm asking if he puts on film. I didn't think he did. He says, yeah, he actually started a few years ago. He said he has a friend very high in the Russian government, who's a religious Jew, who kept nudging him to start putting out film. So he says, this year tells me he had a Ben Yochid who didn't have children. And his friend told him, you start putting out film, you want something for Hashem, you do something for Hashem. So he started putting out film a few years ago, and the guy was right. His child had a child. And the other guy sitting there also started a few weeks ago putting on film. Point being, who got him to put on film? He has contact with other Rabbanim because he's a he's a philanthropist. Apparently he gives. I'm not sure where, what, but that didn't do it for him. What did it for him is the friend that's not a rabbi, that's there working in the Russian government. Everybody's part of this army. The Rebbe wants every single one of us to be, whether we're above cover, under cover. Got to be part of the revolution, part of the army, the Tzivos Hashem. Yeah, and you know what that leads to. We're waiting too long. Chaim.
Chaim, Doran.